hope you're all having a great Sunday. Hope you went to church. Hope you had a great Sabbath yesterday and Friday. Hope you're spending some good time with God today, and I hope you're all doing well. Today we have Numbers chapter 30 and 31, as always, in the NIV, the New International Version. So with that being said, let's get right into it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Vows. Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel, "This is what the Lord commands. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he must not break his word, but must do everything he said. When a young woman still living in her father's household makes a vow to the Lord or obligates herself by a pledge, and her father hears about her vow or pledge but says nothing to her, then all her vows and every pledge by which she obligated herself will stand. But if her father forbids her when he hears about it, none of her vows or pledges by which she obligates herself will stand. The Lord will release her because her father has forbidden her. If she marries after she makes a vow, or after her lips utter a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and her husband hears about it, but says nothing to her, then her vows or pledges by which she obligates herself will stand. But if her husband forbids her when he hears about it, he nullifies the vow that obligates her, or the rash promise by which she obligates herself, and the Lord will release her. Any vow or obligation taken by a widow or a divorced woman will be binding on her. If a woman living with her husband makes a vow or obligates herself by a pledge under oath, and her husband hears about it but says nothing to her and does not forbid her, then all her vows or the pledges by which she obligated herself will stand. But if her husband nullifies them when he hears about them, then none of the vows or pledges that came from her lips will stand. Her husband has nullified them, and the Lord will release her. Her husband may confirm or nullify any vow she makes or any sworn pledge to deny herself. But if her husband says nothing to her about it from day to day, then he confirms all her vows or the pledges binding on her. He confirms them by saying nothing to her when he hears about them. If, however, he nullifies them some time after he hears about them, then he must bear the consequences of her wrongdoing. These are the regulations the Lord gave Moses concerning relationships between a man and his wife, and between a father and his young daughter still living at home. Numbers chapter 31. Vengeance on the Midianites. The Lord said to Moses, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites. After that you will be gathered to your people." So Moses said to the people, "Arm some of your men and go to war against the Midianites, so that they may carry out the Lord's vengeance on them. Send into battle 1,000 men from each of the tribes of Israel." So 12,000 men armed for battle, 1,000 from each tribe, were supplied from the clans of Israel. Moses sent them into battle 1,000 from each tribe, along with Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, who took with him articles from the sanctuary and the trumpets for signaling. They fought against Midian, as the Lord commanded Moses, and killed every man. Among their victims were Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam, son of Beor, with the sword. The Israelites captured the Midianite women and children and took all the Midianite herds, flocks, and goods as plunder. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as their camps. They took all the plunder and spoils, including the people and animals, and brought the captives' spoils and plunder to Moses and Eleazar the priest and the Israelite assembly at their camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the community went to meet them outside the camp. Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, who returned from the battle. "Have you allowed all the women to live?" he asked them. They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the Peor incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys, and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man. Anyone who has killed someone or touched someone who was killed must stay out of the camp for 7 days. On the 3rd and 7th days you must purify yourselves and your captives. Purify every garment as well as everything made of leather, goat hair, or wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the soldiers who had gone into battle, "This is what is required by the law that the Lord gave Moses: gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, lead, and anything else that can withstand fire must be put through the fire, and then it will be clean. But it must also be purified with the water of cleansing, and whatever cannot withstand the fire must be put through the water. On the 7th day wash your clothes, and you will be clean. Then you may come into the camp, dividing the spoils." The Lord said to Moses, "You and Eleazar the priest and the family heads of the community are to count all the people and animals that were captured. Divide the spoils equally between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. From the soldiers who fought in the battle, set apart as a tribute for the Lord 1 out of every 500, whether people, cattle, donkeys, or sheep. Take this tribute from their half share and give it to Eleazar the priest as the Lord's part. From the Israelites' half, select 1 out of every 50, whether people, cattle, donkeys, sheep, or other animals. Give them to the Levites, who are responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle." So Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. The plunder remaining from the spoils that the soldiers took was 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 women who had never slept with a man. The half share of those who fought in the battle was 337,500 sheep, of which the tribute for the Lord was 675, 36,000 cattle, of which the tribute of the Lord was 72, 30,500 donkeys, of which the tribute for the Lord was 61, 16,000 people, of whom the tribute for the Lord was 32. Moses gave the tribute to Eleazar the priest as the Lord's part, as the Lord commanded Moses. The half belonging to the Israelites, which Moses set apart from that of the fighting men, the community's half, was 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. From the Israelites' half, Moses selected 1 out of every 50 people and animals, as the Lord commanded him, and gave them to the Levites, who were responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle. Then the officers who were over the units of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, went to Moses and said to him, "Your servants have counted the soldiers under our command, and not one is missing. So we have brought as an offering to the Lord the gold articles each of us acquired, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, and necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord." Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted from them the gold, all the crafted articles, all the gold from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds that Moses and Eleazar presented as a gift to the Lord weighed 16,750 shekels. Each soldier had taken plunder for himself. Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Spirit. Amen. So I do have some things to say about both of these chapters, in fact. And while I'm talking about the first chapter, I have to look around for what I want, for something about the second chapter. In the first chapter, I'm gonna try and multitask here. Let's see if I can do it. But uh, okay. In the first chapter about making vows, um, sorry, it seems I can't talk and read at the same time. I just want to see. Okay, so it wasn't those people. Didn't he? I'm trying to. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm trying to see where exactly the Midianites came into everything. Um, so they were in with this. The elders of Midian were in with this whole thing. It seems. Okay. Okay. So coming back to the first chapter, which was chapter 30, about the vows. This will come up soon. Well, it will come up. About a man who makes a rash promise and has to pay, has to follow through. It will come up in the future. Regarding the women, there used to be a time when people looked out for women. I know that that's like such a crazy concept now. Um, with, I'll say it, with like this like feminism stuff, but at a certain point in time, people used to look out for women and take further care of them, which again we will see in the next chapter. The Midianites, they messed up. These guys messed up, and they had to pay for it. And a lot of people don't like this chapter, but they don't realize the context of it. They don't realize the Midianite. It even said like the Midianites tried. You're not gonna mess like with God's people. Like it's just not gonna happen, especially at this time. Like these people, like God said, I forget what it was earlier in the book, but it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to like get all of these people out of the land because they will like corrupt you. Like you're gonna start worshiping their idols. If you don't, it's gonna be bad. God knew every outcome of everything, and with all this infinite knowledge that we can't even begin to comprehend, said that this is what has to happen. If the Midianites wouldn't have been this way, I don't know. But again, um, these women followed Balaam's advice and led and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord. But yet, still, so the men, the boys, the women who weren't the non-virgin women died, but the young girls I think it refers to them as such. Clash Royale group chat coming up. But sorry. The young girls, I want to say it does refer to them as the young girls. They got to live. Like, they were allowed to live. God allowed them to live. Like, they came from a heathen nation whose whole goal was to get rid of the Israelites. And God allowed them to live and become, probably, I assume they would become part, and this I'm not exactly sure, but I assume they would be able to become part of the Israelites, and like kind of, and again, I'm not exactly positive on that, but it seems that they'll now be allowed to merge in with the Israelites. And what better gift, like, but anyway, so this chapter, a lot of people, they take issue with it, but if you just look deeper and look at why everything's happening, and what's happening, and also think about how God knows literally everything, it's a lot easier to understand. And again, I'm not saying, oh, I understand everything so perfectly, but because I don't, not even not even close. But just important to keep things in perspective. Most of all, God knows exactly what He's doing. So, and that equally so, He's a good and loving God. And sometimes punishments, have to happen. If your parents never punished you, let you just do whatever you want, you probably wouldn't have survived childhood. If there were no rules, do whatever you want, and I'll aid you in doing absolutely anything you want. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys like these chapters. I hope that this Bible reading brings you closer to Christ and is a blessing to your day. You know, I love you. God loves you infinitely more. I hope I did a good job explaining things. But really, if you don't know what happens, it's really a sad story. What's gonna happen? With he must not. It's in the book of Judges. I don't wanna. We'll get there in a little bit. Where is the book of? Yeah, we'll get there. We'll be there in a little while, but it's a pretty sad story. But it's funny because I'm saying that now, and when we get to it, we'll be referencing back to this video. Anyway, that's how time works, John. But God bless you all. I'm praying for you, and I hope you have a great day. God bless.